Hi, this is Dave, Fellow Running Guide. Welcome to this week's navigation task. We've got a route choice task this week. So I want to know how you would navigate from A down here up to the trig point at B. And we're using the Ordnance Survey 1 to 25,000 map for this one. This is an actual real life example that I used on a navigation course with the chat last week. You can see the conditions were really foggy, so it's perfect really for practicing our map and compass work. So how would you get from A to B? Well, when conditions are like that, it's useful to find an attack point as close as you can to the destination, and then rely on accurate compass bearing and also pacing, counting out how many steps you take for 100 meters and measure the distance from your attack point. So what were our options? Well, we've got a few attack points that we could use up here. So route choices are, we could have gone up the zigzags, up the nab, and then up to Ringing Roger up here, found this boundary line and navigated to the apex there with a little change of direction and this stream, and used that as an attack point. That's one option. We could have come up the same way and then gone around underneath the rocky crags and up to here, and then gone around this side of that boundary line to the same place, just where this stream comes through, and use that. Or similarly, could have gone up here and then used this stream and then headed just slightly west of north from that stream bend there. Or we could have gone up here towards Golden Clough and used that stream there to go in. What we actually thought about doing, rather than going up these monotonous zigzags, we fancied going and finding Golden Clough and going straight up the clough. And the plan was we would go up, get to this point here if we could find it, where the path comes and meets our path coming up, a path junction there, or failing that, carry on until this split in the stream and then take that right hand fork to the end and go in from there. So that was a distance from the end of that stream to that point there of 300 meters. Something to just note whilst we're here, this black dotted line is not a path. So some people suggested we'd come up here and pick up this path. It's just a parish boundary. There's no path on the ground. These black dashed lines are paths. Don't be fooled into thinking that this is a path. It isn't. So yeah, 300 meters on a bearing from there. That's what our thoughts were. Now what actually happened is we got to this point here and we realized two things. One, it was very, very foggy, and also the vegetation was worse than you can see in the photo there. It was actually a lot rougher heather. So we thought that it'd be better to try and get a bit closer and use a closer attack point. So plan B was to follow this path down and pick up this boundary line. We could have headed due east, but as I said, the vegetation was quite arduous, so we thought we'd make it as easy as possible for ourselves. The plan was to get to there, then just simply handrail in, find that obvious change of direction of the boundary line, find that and go in off the stream. However, plan B didn't go according to plan, because as we came along here we found ourselves walking across this rocky plateau here without having seen this boundary line. So this was an old ancient wall that was long fallen into disrepair, and it wasn't obvious. So we realized that we'd overshot, and all we knew is that we were somewhere in here, but we didn't know exactly where. So we had to do something called relocating. And what we actually did was headed due east, thinking that we would either find a boundary line running northeastwards, or we'd find this break of slope where the ground started to drop away steeply, and from there we'd be able to relocate and hopefully, if one of these boundaries existed, use that. Failing that, we would carry on along until we picked up this stream here. And what we actually did, we just about got to the break of slope, and out of the fog on the left hand side appeared a fence line. And we got to this little change of direction here and took compass bearings along that one northeastwards and along that one northwestwards, and we knew where we were. We then simply handrailed it round, noting that obvious change of direction. We found that little stream there, and then from the end of that stream in, it's only 150 metres. We were counting paces and we got just shy of it, and it emerged out of the mist. So that pink purple line was our actual route. You can see, missed that, came along, headed east, picked up that corner and along, and that worked. We saw the trig emerging out of the fog. This little kink here was just immediately ahead of us. There's a big, deep, watery puddle that we had to skirt round, otherwise we'd have been up to our knees. Yeah, so that's how we did it. A lot of different options, but that's what worked for us. But in this case, very accurate compass bearing and pacing, knowing your paces for the distance, and using an attack point as close as possible to the destination. So that's that. Thanks for watching. Hope it was useful. Look out for next week's navigation task. Bye for now.